At some level, whether it's because of specialization or compartmentalization of disciplines, that integrated perspective that you might see in the mind of a historian, these are spillovers and side effects that we are not considering as a society.
I think it's just so important that we try to get a historical and also an integrated perspective on this. Because it's like a bowl of jelly. You can press it here, but it'll pop up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And the danger here is that we fix one problem only to create another.
Yes.
And I think one of the most disappointing things about this crisis was in 2008, 2009, you could see the finance ministers of the world when they gathered, they were palpably scared.
Yes.
They were terrified. And that was the only time during this crisis where they all decided they better sing from the same song sheet. And for the first time, we saw some consensus. But you now look at them now, it's completely gone the other way.
As the fear dissipated.
As the fear dissipated,
yes.
The divisions rose. But now, of course, there is still fear now. But the fear is different. They've worked out that certain countries are doomed. And it's almost like, who can get to the lifeboats first? And the beggar thy neighbor attitudes which are coming in. You have the Brazilians standing up and saying, well, basically, there's a currency war going on, and so we're going to protect ourselves with capital controls and so forth. And addressing some of the really important macro issues like the global imbalances and how we deal with that, how we reshape the global monetary system in terms of payment mechanisms, shifting away from basically a single reserve currency model, are profound issues.
Yes.
But you cannot do them as a country on its own. It's got to be a consensus.
Adam Curtis from the BBC, a documentary filmmaker, has a blog post about the notion of, he calls it TINA, there is no alternative. And we have been attached to this god of markets and market fundamentalism for so long. He talks about us as being so conditioned, our elites, our consensus, our education, our textbooks, that we are unable to contemplate these scenarios at this point.
I think you're right. And Tina was the phrase that used to be associated with Margaret Thatcher, I remember, because that was a standard answer to anything that was unpopular. There is no alternative. But I picked as the epigram for this book something which I read probably 30, 40 years ago, and has stayed with me ever since, which is Fyodor Dostoevsky's comment in The Possessed. It's very difficult to change gods. And we are living through, the global financial crisis, the sovereign crisis, probably the emerging market crisis that will come. All these issues are these morbid symptoms. But we would do very well, in my judgment, to use this opportunity to reflect on some of the issues that we're talking about: environment, how we use and price risk, how we actually look at renewable and non-renewable resources. What living standards do human beings, can they afford, given all these constraints? All of those questions have to be asked.
And what is the financial system really for?
Exactly. Finance can only do three things. One is match borrowers and savers. It can basically provide a payment mechanism which is safe and secure, and provide some rudimentary and simple risk management.
Risk transfer. Yeah.
Risk transfer. And beyond that, I can't see what it can provide.
This has been a lovely discussion, and I think your book is both historical, institutional, conceptual, far-ranging. I'd encourage many people to read it, and please come back and talk to us again.
I would love to. It's very, very nice for me to meet you for the first time.
Yes, thank you.